Oh, Lord. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Online. Bear with me a second. We're going to be talking Canelo, we're going to be talking Jacobs, and I have a good friend in the room with me as well. We'll be talking to him as well, but once I can get the graphics up, we can get talking. Been a strange day today on YouTube, very strange day indeed. Everything seems like it's moving really slowly. We're going to get there. Okay, let us bring our man into the room. We won't waste any more time. Daryl, how are we doing?
Doing well. How are you doing, Ingram?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us on BWTM Sports. What's been going on?
Yeah, it's good to be here. So I'm actually based over in Australia. So for those who don't know me, my name's Daryl. I'm one of the coaches at Sydney Uni for Muay Thai, kickboxing and boxing. So I moved over to Sydney about 3 years ago now. I've been following Ingram's channels and boxing more widely probably for the last 10, 15 years. But yeah, me and Ingram got talking probably about a year, 2 years ago. And finally, we managed to lock down a time until we can actually get live, talk some boxing. And yeah, let's chop it up. So yeah, I watched all the boxing over the weekend. I came to chat about Canelo and Jacobs.
Okay, so Canelo and Jacobs. Well, what were your thoughts going into the fight, first and foremost?
So I think that the key thing for me was, you know, that if you're fighting Canelo, you're not going to win a decision, right? So your plan going into the fight has to be about aggression and getting a knockout. If you get a knockout, you may even get a draw. So you have to be aggressive, you've got to press the fight. I think that the massive thing I was looking for was for Jacobs to be establishing a jab, using his reach and using his size. There was a lot of talk before the fight about Jacobs being the bigger man. But then going into the fight, it's only a benefit of being a bigger man if you actually know how to use that size and you're going to implement it on the night. And I don't think we saw that. I think Jacobs left a lot on the table going into the fight. The massive thing for me was the whole weigh-in saga. So as you may have heard, it was a $250,000 fine for every pound over the limit that Jacobs came in over. So I think he ended up forfeiting roughly $1 million on the check weigh. So to forfeit $1 million on a purse of, I think, 2.5 or $3 million, to then not implement that size on the night appropriately and coming forward and establishing that range and that extra weight that he had, it made no sense to me. I mean, what were your thoughts going into the fight, and how did you see his keys to victory?
Okay, first and foremost, from the get-go, Jacobs is a good middleweight. Canelo is a very good middleweight. I say to say this, when going into a fight, I like to see consistency. Is this guy impressive coming into a big fight? He isn't. Jacobs wasn't impressive in his fights. He was scrappy. His fight against Gennady Golovkin, he was scared of Golovkin. He was scared of getting hit by Golovkin because of the Golovkin power. And then he got hit by Golovkin, and he found out later through the fight, hold on a second, I can actually do something in this fight. But by the time he started letting his hands go and doing something, it was too late, you know? So that was the first thing I took into. So I thought to myself, okay, you're coming to fight against Canelo. So what are you going to do differently? You fought Golovkin. Now you're going to fight Canelo. What's going to be the change of game plan? What are you going to do? Or what are you going to implement? Are you going to learn from that experience? You're the bigger man. You're the stronger man. Once I hear a commentator talk about bigger and stronger, I get concerned because that's a deflection. Because bigger and stronger doesn't mean better. And we've seen it over and over again. Rocky Fielding, Canelo, Lomachenko versus Crawler. We've seen Khan versus Crawford. Who's bigger and he's stronger at the weight. Doesn't mean you're better. Doesn't mean you're technically better. Doesn't mean you're a good boxer. It just means that you're bigger and stronger. And you're taller and you're longer. So there's more for you to hit. You're slower. And so those things I don't pay much attention to. So Jacobs come into this fight. He was going to be the premier middleweight. It was his opportunity. It was his time. Could he cross the bridge? Could he get over that GGG thing and get into and do what he did against GGG and then push on from that? The first red flag for me was when he went to the press and he told the press, I took Golovkin's power. So what relevance has that got to do going into fighting Canelo? Yeah, but I took Golovkin's power and I didn't go get knocked down. So that's not the mentality I want to be hearing from you going into a world title fight to become, unified champion and probably considered the best middleweight in the world. So I was concerned there. And then as I went in, as commentary started, in the first minute, I said, there's no way Jacobs is going to win this fight off the back foot. So in the first 30 seconds, for me, he lost the fight. People say, why did he lose the fight? Because you're trying to fight off the back foot against a man like Canelo, which you need to be coming forward for. You need to be outworking. And as soon as Canelo started looking them body shots and his jab, Canelo's jab, he took from the first 30 seconds, Canelo initiated that coming forward, hands up tight, buying a good jab. And he backed Jacobs up with the jab. So I thought, you know what? And then I said in the preview as well, once Canelo starts moving his head, a lot of that body movement, upper body movement, Jacobs, who likes to use the jab to set his things up, is going to find it difficult to set anything up. As always, Jacobs always looks sloppy when he throws his punches. He doesn't look like it. He always looks like he's not the finished product. He always looks like he's either out of range or he smothers his shots. They're never ever clean against elite fighters. And again, he did the same thing again against Golovkin.
What really impressed me about Golovkin's performance was how well he cut the ring off. At every point in the fight, you could see he was really focused on his positioning in the ring. Whether Jacobs
Canelo or Golovkin?
I'm talking about Canelo. So
yeah.
Canelo's performance against Jacobs, this is the other night. Canelo's positioning in the ring and his cutting down of the ring and cutting down of the angles on Jacobs really impressed me. So he gave Jacobs no room to start establishing any kind of momentum in the fight. He was always making sure that his lead foot was on the outside of Jacobs' foot, making sure that his jab was fast and effective, and he was pressing forward with the jab. The jabs that Canelo was throwing, none of them were lazy. They were all power jabs, spearing jabs, and he was using them to press forward and to close down the space and time that Jacobs had to react. And if you saw, like, at certain points when Jacobs had his back to the ropes, he started panicking. So he'd either like rush for an exit either to his left or to his right without thinking, okay, I could be cut down here with a right hook or a left hook, or he would just start flailing and throwing. And start throwing 1-2s and left hooks when the space and the time and distance wasn't there for him to throw the shots. So I think Canelo was masterful in his closing down at distance and the controlling of the range. There was one moment in the fight in the 9th round when Jacobs threw that big overhand right, and it looked like it stunned Canelo slightly for a second, but the poker face came on. But what really disappointed me about Jacobs was that whether Canelo was hurt or not, you've hit the man with a big shot. Press the action. Throw a few more haymakers. See if you can actually try and buzz this guy and get him hurt and get him wobbled. The fact that he threw the haymaker, it landed. The crowd go crazy, and then he stands there for the next minute and a half looking at Canelo, not throwing any shots, and the round's over. That was the key turning point in the fight. There ever was going to be one for Jacobs to establish some dominance in the fight and try and see if he could get a knockout, but it wasn't happening for him that night. I feel like he was comfortable in going the distance and not getting knocked out. That's what he came there to do, and I think he succeeded in doing that.
Now, going back to that 9th round, I picked it up quite early about Canelo. One of the things Canelo's picked up very well, the Oscar De La Hoya thing. When De La Hoya used to get hit with a punch, De La Hoya would turn his head. You'd see him a lot when he's fighting. He'd use a jab, and then somebody try and counter with a right hand. He'd pull his head away. And you watch Canelo, when you watch Canelo getting hit with a shot, he always pulls his head away. So he takes a sting away with the shot. So the big shot that you saw Jacob throw, you watch it carefully in slow-mo, he rolls his head with it. It looks like a big shot from Jacobs. He's loaded up. But Canelo's rolled with it. And the thing is, when Canelo rolls, you got to be careful. When he rolls, he's got this right hand cocked to come back with his own right hand. So if you catch him there, he'll come back with right hand. Got to be very careful with Canelo. That right hand over the top where he pulls back and hits you the right hand. He's learned that as well. He's done that sort of stuff. Joe Walker used to do it. Pull you back, bring you onto it, bang, catch you the right hand. That
Yeah,
shot.
he rode the shot really well, but for the rest of that round, he didn't throw. Canelo didn't throw any other shots for the rest of that round. If you watch it back, after he takes that shot, he basically just he steps off, gets positioning, starts composing himself, and there's about a minute and a half left in the round, and the round ends. And then he comes out and dominating the round.
Those rounds 9 and 10, I think he was taking those rounds off because he launched an attack again 11 and 12. Canelo seems to win early, during the middle rounds, take some time off, and then come strong in the last 2 rounds. So
and that's exactly where Jacob should have pressed him in those moments when he doesn't want to engage, but he didn't do that. He let Canelo establish the pace of the fight. You know, the rounds that Canelo wanted to take off, he could take them off because Jacobs wasn't making him work. Jacobs had to press him in those moments, but he didn't do it. He was comfortable almost resting himself and fighting to Canelo's pace, which is I think it was bad fight management by Jacobs in those moments. And his trainer was almost Andre Rozier was telling him not to go toe to toe and engage, which is exactly what he needed to do to win the fight. He didn't action and get the knockout. Like I'm sorry, but we don't want to see Jacobs go 12 rounds and lose by 2 points on the scorecards. That doesn't do anything for Jacobs' career. No one cares. We want to see Jacobs put it all on the line and try and get the knockout. Because the only way he's going to win anyway. So let him go for it.
Let me ask you a question here. Is Jacobs so caught up in the fact that he's the miracle man and he spent so much time? Yes, we know, legendary. He's done something that many people probably will never be able to do. Get out of, he overcame cancer, got back in the ring, boxed, became a 2-time world champion. Those things. The fact that he won that battle and I've overcome that battle. So I've overcome the greatest battle, a battle that no other man in this squared circle will face. Is he just content with that? Is that the mentality upstairs that, you know what? I've come for my greatest challenge. I don't have to prove anything to anybody else. I've beat cancer. And if I beat cancer, hey, I got beat on points. So what? I take my money home. I'm living nice. Listen, I'm here. I'm here boxing. So at the end of the day, I wasn't meant to be here boxing. The doctors told me I wasn't meant to be boxing. I had cancer. How many people from cancer come back and box and become champion twice? So in the really, really tough fights now, has Jacobs got the internal fortitude to go to the next level? I don't think he has.
Well, without knowing the man personally, it's really impossible for me to say what his mentality and perspective is going into fights. Obviously, a guy who overcome cancer is a winner in life, regardless. Right? That's a warrior from the ground up, because a lot of people wouldn't have made it back from that.
Yeah.
And then to even go from that stage to becoming world champion to becoming a millionaire, setting his family up for life, he's won. He's a winner in life.
Of course.
Everyone boxes for different reasons. I'm sure there are some guys out there who see it as a job and a paycheck. It's how they provide for their family, and they may or may not care about being the best in the world. They may care about getting dollars. I mean, we've seen Adrian Bronas of the world who just go out there every time, put on lackluster performances, don't really like to train, never throw their hands, still collecting big paychecks. So it depends on what the person's fighting for. I think that Jacobs went out there to not get knocked out. I think he was going out there to put on a level of performance to where he looks good and in a close fight. But number one, he doesn't get dropped and doesn't get knocked out because that keeps his stock high. So he can still get other top level and elite fights after that. If Jacobs went out there and let's say it was he went balls to the walls and he got dropped 2 times and TKO stoppage, let's say late in the fight, 8th, 9th, and 10th, then people might say, oh, maybe he's a bit chinny, maybe he's on his way down. So it depends on how you look at it. Maybe it was clever for him to do what he did and eke out a decision loss. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't help his career in terms of wanting to be a unified world champion, but it does help him get other top level elite fights with people who have his name in that mix in the top echelon.
Yeah, but I said something before in a preview. I said nobody's going to remember Jacobs as an all-time great fighter, middleweight. He's just a decent middleweight, and that's what it is. He's got a great personality and a great backstory, but he's a decent middleweight. That's it. Elite, that is really extending things. He's a good middleweight. Elite, well, if he's elite, who elite has he beat?
I would say that you probably put Golovkin and Canelo as the 2 elite men in the division. and then you have that tier below, that very good tier below of world-class fighter that you probably put your men like Jacobs or Andrade's in that second tier below.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: who wins between Charlo and Jacobs?
Oh, that's tough. I think between Charlo and Jacobs, it's going to come down to who can establish dominance of a jab. I think with Charlo's height, Charlo's what, 6'1"? Jacobs is 5'11", right? I think Charlo's got a pretty long reach. I think if Charlo came in aggressive and threw power punches early and could catch Jacobs, maybe catch him cold within the first 3 rounds, he could probably win early. I think Charlo Jacobs could end up looking something like Peter Quillen versus Jacobs, where it's like a shootout. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's a shootout early. The first 6 rounds of the fight within there, that's where the fight's won or lost. Big time shootout, and whoever's got the best chin wins. I think Charlo probably coming real aggressive, and that will be his best chance of winning the fight. But I think Jacobs has the ability to outbox it. But Charlo carries powers. It depends on how Jacobs' chin can hold up. So okay. I think like, I probably nail my pick to Jacobs to win that fight.
Okay. What did you make of the southpaw stance of Jacobs, and how effective did you think it was?
I thought it gave Canelo some different looks, switching. He gave him something to think about, but it wasn't anything that Canelo couldn't cope with. Canelo's got a very good boxing IQ, so when he was giving him those different reads in the southpaw stance, he was like, right, I think I've seen this before, maybe in sparring, maybe in previous fights, and he'd adapt. He'd adapt and the overcome these situations. I think it actually was to the detriment of Jacobs in certain situations from a defensive point of view, because I think he was holding his backhand quite low in that southpaw stance, and he was getting caught with a few hooks, especially on the inside. So maybe that's not natural for him, the switching. But it definitely gave Canelo something to think about.
But in terms of effectiveness and getting him close to win the fight, how effective was it in the grand scheme of things?
It was effective in terms of making him survive the 12 rounds of the fight. It kills time. It gives the other guys some different looks, so you have to stop and think, and it kills time on the clock. It doesn't help you win the fight.
That's exactly my point. I've said it. I don't want to see another boring ass Danny Jacobs fight. I'm done. I'm done with Danny Jacobs. Me personally, I'm done with him.
You don't want to see him versus Andrade, maybe?
Oh my God! You want to put me to sleep or what? So I'm gonna stay up till 4 a.m. in the morning to watch that boring ass fight.
What do you think about Eddie Hearn's comments about he reckons that Andrade could beat Canelo, give him a tough fight?
Is Eddie Hearn promoting Andrade?
Of course he is.
Well, they'll say any shit then, won't he?
I think Andrade is the last middleweight he's got left, right, with the title that can take Canelo on.
He'll talk any shit. I don't. He's like, oh yeah, I'm real confident. I'm sorry guys, but I think Jacobs is gonna beat Canelo. Oh yeah. He's got to say that shit. He's got to say that shit to make the fight sound like it's 50-50. Going into the fight, I thought it was 75-25%. There was never a 50-50 fight. 75% to Canelo, 25% to Jacobs, and we kind of saw that in the fight.
So I want to talk about another fighter who's in and around them weights. Got a fight this weekend. Mr. Billy Joe Saunders fighting Shifat Isufi at the Lemieux Stadium, that famous, world-renowned stadium over in the UK. England's gone to sleep already. Is that impressed with the fight? The WBO 168 belt, super middleweight.
Oh, you mean for the Warren Boxing Organization?
The Warren Boxing Organization for the full belt. For the full belt, not interim now. Ramirez has probably been paid some step-aside money to move out and vacate that belt, and now it's for the full belt. So we may see Billy Joe Saunders coming off a little drugs ban there for a nasal spray, being a two-weight world champion by the end of this week. I mean, you can't say that Frank Warren doesn't get his fight opportunity, because he's done really well for Billy Joe Saunders.
Look at me. Somehow, Billy Joe Saunders has maneuvered himself into not fighting Andrade. I like that. He's maneuvered his way out of fighting Andrade. Billy Joe Saunders' career is starting to look very much like Joe Kazaki early in his career. You remember Joe Kazaki when all the big fights were coming up? All the big
I want to
fights.
see Joe Kazaki versus Peter Manfredo. That famous fight.
When all the big fights were there for Kazaki and somehow he got injured, found a way out of it. Billy Joe Saunders does a lot of talking, but I don't want to hear about Billy Joe Saunders until he fights Golovkin, Canelo, Andrade, Charlo, Jacobs. Them guys I want to hear him fight. Everyone puts this thing about David Lemieux. David Lemieux can't box. He cannot box. He's only got a puncher's chance. He cannot box. Golovkin looked great against Lemieux. He had a great jab. Well, of course, you look at a great jab because Lemieux cannot box. His own trainer even said he cannot box. Can he punch? Sure. If he catches you, he'll knock you out. But Lemieux cannot box. So Billy Joe Saunders' greatest win, apart from the Andy Lee fight, where Andy Lee was given horrific game plan to go against Billy Joe Saunders, his best win was against David Lemieux. That's still being celebrated now. That's been his best performance against David Lemieux. He's been eating out on that performance since. Why?
I think Billy Joe Saunders is a fighter that I would take past as the eye test. And what I mean by that is that when you watch a fighter like Billy Joe Saunders, you see the skills. Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
You see the skill that's there. You see that he's slick. He's a slick boxer. And it's exciting to watch him. He's fan friendly. So he passes the eye test. He looks good. However, the level of opposition that he's fought up until this point isn't commensurate of saying that he is an elite level fighter.
There we go.
He's got a world class skill set. Of course,
yes.
Anyone can see that, right? If you wanted to coach, you had a southpaw boxer in the gym, and you wanted to say, "I want you to teach you how to be a slick fighter," you say, "Go and watch Billy Joe Saunders." Yeah, he's got that kind of skill set. He does everything very technically.
Oh hell yeah!
However, I think what all of us fans want to see, I think I'm right in saying this, is we want to see him in against the best, right? We want to see him competing against your Golovkins, Canelos, your Jacobs. You're mixing in them circles. But up to this point, probably from some things to his own fault, fucking around in Sheffield and whatever he's doing over there, he's actually damaging his own career and he's wasting time. He's in the prime years of his career now, and he still hasn't had that career defining fight to take him to that next level. That's what we want to see. I want to see that potential being fulfilled, right?
His career-defining fight so far has been, to be honest, David Lemieux. That's it. And what do you remember of the fight?
I remember David Lemieux throwing that haymaker that hit Rose Ed and Billy Joe Saunders giving out of the way of it and then looking into the sky like Superman. That was the best moment of the fight for me. That's
all you remember of the fight. For all the skills Billy Joe Saunders you just talked about, what do you remember most?
There is more. There is more. I remember he had a great jab, pull back, and then throw a left hook. So he would throw jab, pull back, and then Lemieux would throw like a right hand. He would half step back and throw a left hook. He had great pivots. He was slipping shots.
Lemieux. David Lemieux.
It's David Lemieux. He's a limited fighter, but it passed the eye test. It looked good. It looked good.
Yeah, but at this stage of Billy Joe Saunders' career, he should be fighting elite fighters. This guy, do you know who this guy is he's fighting? Do you have any idea? Unless you box wreck him, who is he?
I'd never heard of. I'm not going to bullshit. I never heard of Shifat Asufi until it was announced that Billy Joe was fighting him, and I like to think I know about who fights who and who's up and coming. I mean, they talk about, and I saw Ben Davison talking about this. I think it was on Boxing Social just this morning. He was saying that to work your way up into a mandatory spot for a title within any ranking belt organization, you have to be a good fighter. I disagree with Ben Davison on that because, as we know, promoters and the ranking systems can be manipulated to benefit certain situations as and when required. So that's bullshit. We all know that BoxRec is probably the best independent place to see where a fighter's at, who they fought, what caliber of opposition they fought against, how many world champions they beat, and so on. Shifat Asufi isn't somebody that I think is of a level of opposition to where it's going to trouble Billy Joe Saunders.
Well, all right. Let me ask you a question. Who did he fight to get? Who did he fight? Who was the final eliminator he fought to fight Billy Joe Saunders?
I haven't even seen Shifat Asufi's BoxRec rep. Have you? I don't know. That is how much I care about the fight.
I mean, I really don't care. Let me ask you a question. Would Billy Joe Saunders have fought Ramirez?
On short notice, like he fought a Sufi? No way.
No, he didn't have short notice. But he didn't have short notice. How long have we known about this fight? Ages we've known about this fight.
Has it been a 7-week camp? Is this 6
More than that. More than that. At least 8 weeks.
At least 8 weeks, huh? Right.
I remember the fight was on, but it was only for the interim title. Now they've made it the full belt because they're trying to get Ramirez.
Ramirez vacated the belt, moved up to light heavyweight.
Listen, I thought I'm saying is this, yeah. People say, yeah, Billy Joe Saunders can beat Canelo. No, he can't. He can't. I'm sorry. I don't think he can beat Canelo. And I'll tell you why. Canelo's had so many different looks now. He's had so many different looks. He's experienced. I think a year or two ago, maybe. Not now. Momentum. Momentum. Jermaine, where Billy Joe Saunders has been farsing around, this guy's progressed and moved on and become a better fighter.
I hear what you're saying, and I also think even more base and I guess simpler than that is that Billy Joe Saunders, I don't think, can knock Canelo out, so therefore he can't win, because that's what you have to do to beat Canelo. And all that boxing on the back foot for 12 rounds, you're not going to get a decision against Canelo doing that in Vegas. It's not happening. You can't go to Vegas on Cinco de Mayo weekend and fight Canelo in essentially his second home now and beat him fighting on the back foot as a boxer from Hatfield who has a limited following on that world level stage in terms of number of fans.
And you know what? And the thing is, Billy Joe Saunders is going to get hit like he's never got hit before because he's got a guy in there now that can hit him and will hit him and won't let him get away with it. Hey, what can Billy Joe Saunders do any better than Floyd Mayweather did?
From what perspective? Like from a what? Like
to beat Canelo.
I think he's probably got better feet than Floyd had at the age that Floyd was when he fought Canelo. That's probably about it that I could think of. He's probably more athletic, and that may help him when it comes to using that full area of the ring and pivoting and staying out of danger and trouble.
Right, wait. This fight will happen in America. Can you see, or even if it happened in the UK, can you see Canelo's people allowing Billy Joe Saunders to have a big ring to move around the ring?
No, not going to happen.
So they're going to cut the ring down half the size.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
And from memory, I can't remember the last time I saw Billy Joe Saunders fight in a small ring. He's usually fighting on Frank Warren promoted shows, so therefore he has the ring of his choice. He has a big ring.
There you go.
So it'll be interesting to see how his skill set translates to a smaller ring. Can he operate and do those things in a smaller space? I mean, Floyd Mayweather can, but I want to see if Billy Joe can do any of those things.
But can Billy Joe Saunders use that skill set effectively against world-class and elite opposition? That's the key.
We still don't know yet. We still don't know. We haven't seen it. We need to see him in there doing it. Sorry, carry on, Ingram.
I think this also, James DeGale and Billy Joe Saunders started their careers quite similarly, didn't they?
Yeah.
Look at all the guys James DeGale's fought.
James DeGale fought some killers.
Look at they both started the career at the same time. I remember him and Frank Warren. Frank Warren had DeGale and Billy Joe Saunders coming out at similar times, making their pro debuts.
I think the difference between Billy Joe and DeGale is ambition. I think DeGale wanted to test himself against the best of the best. He wanted to prove himself in America, get an established fan base over there, and he wasn't afraid to travel and be the road warrior and be that away fighter and take tough fights and win. And he proved that, right? Whereas I think Billy Joe is more of a fighter to where, he's very loyal to Frank Warren. For what reasons I don't know. Very, very loyal to Frank Warren, and therefore, if you're a Frank Warren fighter, Frank Warren doesn't take many risks with his fighters. He always wants it to, at bare minimum, be a 60-40%, favorable to his own fighter. Therefore, he hasn't been taking any of those big risks. Whereas I think, with DeGale signing to Al Heyman, Al Heyman's good to his fighters, but at some point he matches you tough. Everyone has that tough fight, So, Yeah, I think ambition and wanting to be known on a world stage as early as possible, the difference between that mindset that Billy Joe had and DeGale had it in his career.
Another thing is, thinking about Billy Joe Saunders, how would he have done against the elite middleweights in the 90s? Ben, Eubank, Collins, Reed, Watson.
I never like to play fantasy matchups in boxing because it's just like for me that the circumstances are so different. I mean, if you took a fighter from the 90s and you brought them in now with like their work ethic and the nutrition that we have now and these type of things, they'll probably be better than the fighters that we have today. If you take the fighters of today and you put them back in those eras with their sort of lack of work ethic, the reduction number of times that fighters fight now compared to how they used to, you're just comparing a different type of fighter in terms of like a mentality, right? I think the fighters of yesteryear were a lot more hardened and had a lot more ring craft and experience because of the number of times they went out there and fought. You got guys fighting twice a year now, once a year. I mean, Billy Joe Saunders has fought like an average of once a year or just under once a year for the last 3 years. He's very, very inactive. You couldn't put a fighter like that back in the 90s.
No, you could. And Nigel Benn versus a Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah, bloodbath, I think.
Do you know what I mean? A Chris Eubank versus Billy Joe Saunders. These are guys who are supreme elite middleweights. Do you know? And I think to myself, well, guys like this would not have got away with the nonsense they're getting away with today. Not at all.
It's a different era, Ingram. Yeah, I think for me,
but remember the era that we're talking about in the 90s. That's what we grew up on. That's what we really started to get to know about boxing and learn about the big fights and stuff like that. You know, so our Bens, our Eubanks, our Nigel Benn, our James Toney, our Roy Jones Jr. That's where we were getting our knowledge from. And then we see these guys up today. And so I guess now that we've got all these pay-per-view fights, there's almost you've got like an acquired taste for what you want to see. And when somebody says a pay-per-view, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stay up 4 o'clock in the morning to watch that. It has to be of a decent quality. The guys have to have good records, or there has to be some sort of competitive nature to it, or there has to be some hook for me to watch the fight. I'm not just going to watch it because 2 guys on pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Yeah,
completely. And I mean, honestly, so as someone that works in the technology industry, I am shocked that the pay-per-view model still exists today. With all the free streaming services and the mob drones and the androids and all the ability that we have from technology perspective to get things for free, and we see that in terms of like things like Spotify and things like being able to stream and torrents, all technology they've got out there. How promoters are able to charge folks in the States nearly $100 for a pay-per-view fight is beyond me. There are either some people who don't know how to do technology, or there are some fucking idiots out there. I swear
to you. Well, that could well be a case as well. All right, I want to talk about something else now. Changing subject and pace. Barry Hearn.
Oh yeah.
The comments. Your thoughts.
So, I've been thinking about this, and I see it from both sides, right? And I'm going to explain. So, Barry Hearn comes from an era to where you're able to say anything, and the fighter just has to listen, take it on board, and say yes, sir. Okay. So Barry Hearn's used to being the boss in business situations, in how he conducts himself, and he's not used to much pushback, even from media outlets, because he'll just ban you and revoke your press pass if you say something he doesn't like, right? So Barry Hearn hasn't been in the I guess the big time promotional spotlight for a while, because Eddie's taken it to that next level, running the show for a little while. So his comments, I think, at the very least, were probably highly insensitive, and at worst, you could say they were racist, out and out, right? If you want to look at it from the perspective of he's not a racist, but he's just out of touch, well, that's bad enough, because you've got a man sitting there talking to millions of people around the world and broadcasting views that can be misconstrued in a way that will damage a business model, and just offend people. That's not a guy that you really want to be wheeling out into the spotlight too often, right? It's a PR disaster waiting to happen. And from the other perspective, if you want to look at it as maybe they were racial comments, from what I've seen, it's really hard to say. It's really hard to say. You would know more than me because you mix in boxing circles in terms of actually being at shows and meeting promoters and managers. I don't. So you'll probably know better than me if Barry Hearn is or isn't a racist. What I can definitely say is that if I have a business, how I would run my business, if I had a guy like Barry Hearn in my company, I wouldn't want to have him doing speaking engagements because that's not going to win you any new business, any fans speaking like that, how controversial he's speaking.
Well, it kind of reminds me of back in the 80s and Bernard Manning and Jim Davidson and that crew back in the 80s where you said what you said and you know, Darky and all this sort of stuff. And being politically incorrect. Now we have people being politically correct. The people who spin and said he didn't mean it that way, they're spin doctors, most of them. And most of them that say it have no reason to feel it was insensitive. Most of the people that say, it wasn't what it was meant to be. Most of the people that say that are the people that are not affected by it. You'll notice. See, now, when a person sits down and says that they said they were once a slave master, and they almost sound like they were proud of that. There was no sort of apologetic tone when he was saying what he was saying. He was bragging about it. He wasn't apologetic. Now, the tone is how he said it. He was there smiling and laughing. He says, oh, no, I've got to call you Mr. Dillian Whyte. I've got to call you Mr. Dillian Whyte. Not because I want to, but because I have to. As before, I may have called you something else. What I'd like to know is how were you treating people back then? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, Chris Eubank Sr. has told us how he was treated back in the day by
right.
I've even seen I follow Seb Eubank, Chris Eubank Sr.'s son on Instagram, and he did a post, I believe it was last week, addressing this situation. And I'm going to paraphrase here, but essentially what he said was he was telling the story about how his dad first started working with Matchroom. And what had happened was Barry Hearn went into Sky to pitch the idea of Matchroom. Sky rejected it. Chris Eubank, as the flagship fighter at that time, then went back with that same pitch to Sky, and Sky said, you know what, we'll give it a go. And they signed the deal with Matchroom and went from there. Obviously, Chris Eubank Sr. was paid a flat fee as part of the contract, but he wasn't given equity in Matchroom at the time, which is what he felt, what Chris Eubank Sr. feels he deserves Matchroom, because he feels like he helped to build that house, Matchroom, as it is today. And Seb was essentially saying that he feels like Matchroom in the past and still today have abused the fighters and built their name off the fighters' backs, you know, unfairly. Not a unique story. A lot around the world, a lot of promotional companies, you know, it's the similar thing.
Yeah. It's of no surprise, to be honest. No surprise whatsoever. But it's not what you say, it's the tone and how you say it. You could have said, you know what? Back in the day, you could say I was kind of like a slave driver back then, you know? You know, I'm regretful for it. If you'd come out and said it that way, I would have said, you know what, Barry? You're an honest man, and I get you. And I'm not offended as such, because at least you're, in those days, that is what it was. That's how it was. And there could have been a bit more, that wouldn't have been such an impactful statement. But the fact he said it was smiling on his face, I used to be a slave master back then. And well, now I have to call you Mr. Dillian Whyte. The way he said it, the tone in which he said it. As if to say, well, I don't really deserve to call you. Don't deserve to be called Mr. Who are you to be called Mr.? Well, I have to call you Mr. now because you have a bit more control of me in this situation. If we're going to do business now, you're a bit more free. You're a free slave now. You're a runaway slave now. Don't just don't just look at that situation. Look at the past. Look what Deontay Wilder has been saying. Now, we don't know if in the deal with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, I've said it before, intellectual property. How do you know that Wilder say, you know what, if you beat Anthony Joshua, we're going to own you. You beat our boy, we own you. If that's part of the contract, 50 million or whatever much it is, I'd turn it down. Because Wilder, in that sense, is a conscious man. Right? Say what you want about Deontay Wilder, but he's a conscious man. And if you're a conscious man, and that stuff is coming out of their mouths, and you know what they're about, you don't want to deal with them like that.
Deontay Wilder can't be that conscious, though, because he said he wanted to kill a man in the ring. I mean, I can't respect him.
Well, no, that's different. You're talking about now fighting talk and the animalistic side of a man. That side of things, that's different. I disconnect that from the political side of things. Do you understand?
Right.
Two different things.
Right.
You're talking about the fighting in the ring, doing the business, right? Which is what Danny Jacobs lacked, and which makes Deontay Wilder exciting, and makes Deontay Wilder so exciting and so dangerous that Joshua was no part of that whatsoever, and their team, including Barry Hearn, don't want no part of that because they know that if Wilder chins Joshua, no more nights at Wembley, no more cash.
Well, on that point, did you see Wilder's? So Wilder did an interview this week with one of the US boxing channels, and they asked him, would you be interested in fighting Anthony Joshua at the end of this year if it's 50-50? And he said that even if it's 50-50, he's still not interested in taking the fight. So, I mean, why would he say that?
Yeah. But did you not hear what he said as well? Do you know how he said that if he was like, if it was me, or if it was him sitting next to Barry Hearn, he would not be signed with Matchroom. And those statements, he said already about it. This is not the first time I told you about these people. Now it's coming back out. It's coming out. What I've been saying about these people before, it's now come out in the wash.
Yeah.
So
no, it's very interesting.
You can only spin so much.
Yeah. I think to be honest, the heavyweight division right now, I find the whole saga boring. I'm at the point now to where I'm like, wake me up when they fight and then they're in the ring and the bell's about to go for the first round, because all this talk about contracts and 70-30 and 80-20 and 90-10 and 60-40, all this bullshit, it just does my head in. Like it's the business side of boxing isn't what I got into.
Anthony Joshua gets beat, that shit will stop. Trust me.
Why do you think that?
Because if he gets beat, it depends who beats him first and foremost. Depends who beats him. Whoever beats him, let's say it's not the top three, then it could be free for all after that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The titles to become separated again. Something.
But Ingram, is that what we really want? Do we want to see 4 or 5 belts distributed throughout the ether to guys in different continents, and then them nursing their fragment of the belt against overmatched opponents to get money for the next 5 years? Like, do we want that, or do we want a unified champion?
Well, that's what we did. We had that for a while. Remember before we had that for a while.
Yeah, we had that. I didn't like that, man. Like, I want to know who the best is. I don't want to see like 4 or 5 champions in every division. That's not good for me.
But it might take one ill-managed fighter to get beat for that to happen. You know, how much faster would we get a world title fight? If Andrew Ruiz were to beat Joshua, for example, how quicker would we have an undisputed title if Ruiz were to fight Wilder? Put it this way: when Charles Martin was fighting, what's his name, Glasgow. The fact that Charles Martin was champion, if that was Vladimir Klitschko, you wouldn't have seen Joshua in such a rush to fight him. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So because the guy wasn't as good, that opened the way for Joshua to get in, to fight, to win that belt, and then move on that way. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I'm saying to you that if Joshua were to get beat I think it would change a lot of things. It would change a lot of dynamics. If Matchroom lose hold of those belts, that would change the dynamics. I think it would.
What if Wilder was to lose his belt? Let's say Wilder loses to Brazil.
Oh yeah, okay. If Wilder loses to Brazil, okay.
Yeah.
But Brazil going to take a rematch against Anthony Joshua.
No, if Wilder loses to Brazil will probably end up fighting another people. Brazil probably end up fighting that fat Polish heavyweight. He
might end up fighting Dillian Whyte. That's what might happen. He might go and fight Dillian Whyte. Then you'll set Whyte versus Joshua. That's the only way I think that'll happen.
I'm telling you, you won't see Dillian Whyte fighting any PBC fighters within the next 18 months to 2 years. That WC belt is staying in the States. They don't want him. Like, Dillian Whyte should have been the mandatory WC belt last year already. They keep messing him around. Mauricio Sulaimán's not even committed to having Dillian Whyte versus the winner of Wilder in Brazil next. He's not even committed to that. And
because the next fight, but I called it you. The next fight for Dillian Whyte will be Alexander Usyk if he beats Rivas, which is no certainty.
And that does nothing for Dillian Whyte's career, because if you beat Usyk, they'll say, oh well, he was too small, just coming up from cruiserweight, and he hadn't tested himself just yet. And if you lose to Usyk, well, you just lost to an undersized heavyweight who just come into the division. And even if they give you your credit and say you lost to the undisputed cruiserweight champion who's now a great fighter at heavyweight, where do you go from there? You're kind of in the wilderness, right? So you don't really win fighting Usyk.
You could see one of these nights his gamble's not going to pay off. It's coming.
That's right. He's rolling the dice far too often. You're rolling the dice against these unknown guys like Rivas, and like what do you get from beating Rivas? What's the point? Where's that going to take?
Rivas beat Pulev as an amateur, so Rivas ain't no joke, and he just knocked out Bright Jennings, who I would say is probably fitter than Dillian Whyte.
Knocks him out late too, so obviously he's a dangerous man right up into the 12th round. So he needs to be careful and train hard.
The only thing about Rivas I heard is that he failed an eye test. That's what I heard about Rivas.
Who did he fail the test with? What, the British Board of Control or who? The American?
I think the Americans. I think that's what I heard. I don't know how true that is.
I wonder how he's going to get a medical to fight in the UK then.
We'll see. Maybe. Well, money talks, bullshit walks. You know that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Again, I don't know how true that is, but there was murmurings about Rivas in his eye.
Interesting. I mean, it could work out in Dillian Whyte's favor. Maybe they know something about that eye that we don't. Maybe he's got one really bad eye. A la Margarita style. So I mean, who knows?
And then you've still got this guy, Luis Ortiz.
Yeah. Mr. PED himself. Suspected PED, I should say.
Well, and you got Michael Hunter as well. Very dangerous Michael Hunter.
You see, I thought that Michael Hunter versus Joshua would have been a good fight for the fans because he would give Joshua loads of movement, loads of awkward angles, speed, all the things that Joshua doesn't really like. But it's a terrible matchup for Joshua for the same reasons. So I can completely see why Matchroom wouldn't want to make that fight as a priority.
Think this: Miller's big. So is Ruiz. It made sense. Not much adjustments in training camp.
That's right. I mean, I think Ruiz is a little bit shorter than Miller, isn't he? A little bit short. Faster hands, and worse conditioning because he's not on the EPO. So his conditioning is not to where it should be if he were taking the drugs like a good boy, like Miller was showing how you got to do. But yeah, we'll see what Ruiz can do. I feel like Ruiz will put up an interesting, valiant performance while he's being turned into a human punch bag. He's gonna get stopped within 6 rounds, I think.
Got to give a shout out to Andy Ruiz, who's actually part of Round for Round Boxing, the new boxing game coming out on Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC.
Shout out to Andy.
Yeah, so I could give him a shout out for that. But problems with the fighters like Andy Ruiz is that they are not adaptable. You're only going to get one way, straightforward, and come bombing. But when the bombs start flying back, Ruiz has not got the speed of foot or the defense to get out of the way of those big bombs.
Do you think that Ruiz has put up a better performance than Carlos Takam?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
Because Takam's smaller. I think Takam's smaller. I think Ruiz may punch harder than Takam.
Durability? Who wins that? Durability between the two? I mean, Ruiz hasn't been stopped before, so...
Yeah, but he hasn't been stopped before. But who is, between the two guys, who is the more... who's the easier to hit?
I'd say Ruiz is.
Yeah, Takam's smaller, so he can 6'2", he can squat down and fight 5. He can inside. He's like that. He doesn't fight at 6'1" or 6'2". He squats.
Yeah. He fights like a man much smaller, which works in his favor.
And that's what works his favor. Made Joshua have to duck and miss. Joshua punching down all the time, and Takam was making miss at times. So yeah.
How do you see the fight playing out then in terms of prediction of rounds?
I'm going to do a proper breakdown for it. But for me, automatically, I look at a guy's footwork. I look at a guy's hand speed. If Ruiz is going to do it, he's got to do it in the first 4 rounds. He's literally got to jump on Joshua. And I have seen chinks in Joshua's armor. He doesn't like to be pressured, Joshua. He doesn't like pressure. And there are signs in 2 fights he don't like pressure. And when he's dishing it out, it's okay. But when it's been thrown up to him, it's another matter altogether. Oh, but he got up from the Klitschko knockdown. Yeah, he got up because Klitschko allowed him to get up. Okay? Dillian Whyte, another situation that was put on him, and the way he responded was because, again, Dillian Whyte injured going into the fight with a shoulder and lack of conditioning. Now, for me, go and look at the Joseph Parker fight and the Takam fight. The 2 times in those fights, Takam with the head, and I think with the head with Takam, and I think with Parker. And there were situations where Joshua would stop boxing and look to the referee. Stop boxing, looking to the referee. So when he starts stop boxing, looking to the referee, knowing that the referee's there for him. Now, little bits like that, I'm a fighter. If I'm a trainer, I'm saying, jump on him, jump on this guy and keep throwing punches and don't stop. Do not give this guy a chance to think about what he's doing. Jump on him, don't give him any breathing space. That's the only way I see Ruiz winning the fight. If Ruiz stands out and tries to box with Joshua blasts him out there. If he tries to get on the inside of Joshua, it might not be easy, but he's got to get inside and he's got to make Joshua fight and use who I think he might have faster hands than Joshua, and use those faster hands to his ability. He's got to do that. He can't stand the outside and look at Joshua, or else he'll get blasted out with right hands.
Yeah, I'll be honest, Ingram. The next 3 big heavyweight fight between the top 3, I'm not looking forward to. Not looking forward to Fury Schwartz. Not looking forward to this Ruiz Joshua fight. And I don't give a crap about Wilder in Brazil because, I mean, Brazil's already been beaten. So he's been beaten by Joshua. I don't really want to see that fight again. Wilder will take him out. So I think this isn't how any of the fight fans, if you had asked them a year ago, envisaged the beginning of the 2019 going from a heavyweight perspective, and quite disappointing. I think we all we can hope for is that at the end of the year, if these three guys fight again, that they at least fight somebody decent, and we at least see one of the big fights we all want to see.
See, now, you may be overlooking a Brazil fight because Brazil is a gunslinger. He's a guy that's going to put it all on line and just throw hell for leather. And now he's got this real grudge match with Wilder now. He's going to be throwing punches until he gets knocked out. That's Brazil.
That's what's going to get him knocked out.
Yeah, but that's what makes it exciting.
Not for me. Not for me. I don't think it gives Wilder any significant problems in the fight. I think if he throws wild haymakers with Wilder, when was the last time you saw Brazil knock someone out?
The other day, the last fight.
Who did he take out in the last fight?
I don't know, but he knocked him out. And then he knocked it Ngannou as well. Izu Ngannou. who was quite highly touted, and then he got dropped by got up and knocked Ngannou out.
Ngannou is like a domestic USABF like level heavyweight, right? He's like I guess he was not a world class fighter, not a world level fighter. I think Wilder's underestimated in terms of his boxing. I think Wilder's got some great boxing skill in terms of like when he wants to use that jab. He's got a great jab that turns into a left hook that he fakes and turns that up and puts that right hand behind. He's got a good skill set. I think Wilder's underestimated.
I'm just saying to you, a guy like a gunslinger like Brazil, he's in the heavyweight division. He's dangerous. He's not a Fury who's gonna box behind a jab. He's not like Ortiz, a boxer. This guy is going to sling from throw from in the hills, and that is dangerous. Just one of them big throws, them big wings could put Wilder in a lot of trouble. It's not conventional. You know, this guy didn't go for the amateur system in a sense, and went and fought. He didn't go through that. He was a guy that was brought up through basketball or American football, Brazil. He hasn't got the technical like those other guys have got, which makes him dangerous because of that. He's dangerous, and he's a wounded man. Them type of guys in Brazil are dangerous, very, very dangerous, very, very, very dangerous. It's a shootout. You would think Wilder clipped him getting some out of there, but it's a shootout. It's a shootout. Because Brazil's going to bring it, and he's not going to give a shit about the punching power. He's just seeing red, and he's going for Wilder. He's not going to be.
I hope you're right, and it doesn't end up.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm sensationally wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I want Wilder to retain the title. I don't want Brazil to become world champion. Not because I don't like Brazil, but could you imagine dominant Brazil become WBC heavyweight champion of the world just for a second?
Yeah. You'd have Adam Kalnacki versus Dominic Brazil right next. Great fight that would be. Jesus Christ.
Oh, you've got Joe Joyce floating around as well. You never know, Joe Joyce might be a part of something as well, you know?
Well, is Joe Joyce exclusively promoted by Frank Warren now, or is he joint between Frank Warren and somewhere else?
I think it's with Frank Warren now. I think it's with Frank Warren, so yeah.
Well, I think... as we know, Frank missed the safety first. Joe Joyce won't be fighting anyone decent for another year then.
Joe Joyce is fighting Usmanov next.
Yeah, boring. He's already won.
Yeah, I know.
Usmanov's that big, slow robot. Yeah, Usmanov is coming to the end of his... Well, he's past the end of his career. He should have retired already. Yeah,
but Coley just knocked him out the other day.
There you go.
Was it? No, he knocked out Wack, actually. He knocked Wack out.
Wack and Usmanov are a similar profile of fighter in terms of past their prime. They're still dangerous if you let them catch you, but they're past their best.
Hunter beat Usmanov. That's what it was. Hunter beat Usmanov. Stopped Usmanov.
Quite emphatically, didn't he? Using a lot of movement and hitting him with big haymakers,
body shots, and everything. Yeah, broke him down.
Yeah.
What do you think of this Joyce versus Dubois?
I don't see what's in that fight for Joe Joyce. Why does Joe Joyce, who's ranked and ready in that mix to fight at European, at bare minimum European title against Caballero, why would he want to take a step down and fight Daniel Dubois, who's just still a prospect, just like Joe Joyce is? They're at a similar level. The trajectory should be going in different directions. I think I don't see the benefit for Joe Joyce doing that.
I didn't like what I saw Daniel Dubois the other night. I didn't. People liked it. I hated it. I hate every second of it.
It was very reckless. I think Dubois is very, very raw, very green. He's got good boxing fundamental. Yeah, good jab, good right hand, and a left hook. There is 3 shots, and to be honest, when you're a man of that size, you only really need them 3 shots. You'll do a lot of damage to most guys who are not elite level or even world-class level with that kind of just raw power, youth, athleticism, and good base fundamentals. But I think his ring craft from a fight management perspective is very basic. He comes forward in straight lines, comes back in straight lines. he's got a very in and out amateurish style still in terms of how he boxes. He doesn't pivot much. He doesn't use much angles. He doesn't go to the body very often. He doesn't know how to work inside. He needs a lot of work, a lot of development, Dubois. And I think him fighting Joyce is not a good idea. It's not a good idea right now.
Vlad Zarenko, who sparred both of them, when I said who's better between Joyce and Dubois, I went, Dubois, he's raw, he's green. Joyce will beat Dubois easy. He's inexperienced. That's what Zarenko said.
You know, the one thing I will say about Joyce is that it's a good job. It's a good job he started in the pro ranks late, because I think a man with his fighting style at heavyweight would have a very short career, because he fights in a very laissez-faire, come forward, not much regard for defense in terms of a head movement perspective, and his defense really is just having a very big engine and coming forward, throwing big heavy shots and wearing another guy down, and wearing a lot of shots on his chin. He's got a great chin at the moment. But as we know, the more times you get hit on that chin, the worse it gets over time. So I think Joyce, from what I could see, he may be as 3 to 4 years as a career, and he probably wants to be fighting, what would you say, 8-10 times within there and see where he can get to. But he needs to be rushed, Joyce, because time isn't on his side. I think he needs to take that fight against Caballero for that European title. Maybe defend it once and then go straight in against one of the big guys in world level. Like, what's the hold up? I mean, he's not going to get much better as a man of his age that he is now.
I think him v. Manuel Shah seems to fight for me.
Why would Shah take that fight? Is he mandatory for that belt?
I think he's WBA global belt he's got.
Shah's got the WBA. Is it an interim? Not an interim belt. It's one of them.
The one that David Haye had. He's got that belt.
Yeah, right. But then you've got the full champion in terms of Joshua's. That's good.
Who did Joshua beat to win that title?
Picked him out the bin, didn't he? After Tyson Fury vacated all of his belts.
And then how did Vladimir Klitschko become the challenger for that belt? Well, how was he champion for that belt?
I don't know. There's far too many belts out there in terms of the WBA. Even the WBC. I mean, look, the prime example is Dillian White with that WBC diamond belt that he's been carrying for the last couple of years. I mean, in fact, a lot of good that's done for him, because all he's done with it is pay sanctioning fees for every single fight. And he's nowhere closer to fighting Wilder than he was 2 years ago whenever he picked up the belt.
I said it back before he fought Chisora, when he fought Lucas Brown, go down the WBA route. I've said it. But...
And he was offered the chance to fight down that WBA route, but he turned it down because he was ranked with the WBC, and he had that belt, and he was progressing on down that WBC diamond path. And because of that, he missed out on WBA. Going down that route, so
I would have done that WBA route, became WBA champion. That's what I would have done. That's what I was him. But you know, what can I say? What can I say?
That's a bit of a shame. What do you think about this Tom Schwartz versus Tyson Fury? Then are you looking forward to this fight in any way, shape, or form?
The next defense of the linear heavyweight championship of the world. So the defensive Tyson's made of his belt. Silly Sam he defended against, and then he fought. Was it Silly Sam he fought first?
He fought against that the Italian, didn't he?
No, that was the
Italian that lost to Klitschko.
Yeah, that's Pianetta. That was the second defense of the title. The third defense of the title was against Wilder, and then the fourth defense of the title has been against Tom Schwartz.
Yeah, well, there's exciting times, Ingram.
I don't care for the fight personally. I don't care. I don't care.
You can't blame him. I mean, he's picking up ESPN money fighting against the guy that he would have beaten 2, 3, 4 years ago. So you can't blame him for doing it. But it's not very exciting for the man.
I mean, okay, Tyson's having a fight. Yeah, good to see him fighting. But if you're asking me in terms of linear status, I don't want to hear that. He's made a mockery of the linear status, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not a great look. And I'll be honest, I think Tyson Fury lost a lot of the goodwill that he gained with the general public after the Wilder fight. He's lost a lot of that. Now he didn't take the rematch. I think folks who were rooting for him and saying, you know, Fury got robbed, and they're posting all over social media and the internet. Even to this day, people are posting up on BT Sport boxing videos, in random football videos, Tyson Fury got robbed. You know, there's a lot of sentiment. It turned into a meme almost. And all of that goodwill and that momentum that got built up, people were like, wow, the WBC have mandated Wilder versus Fury 2 rematch. It's going to be fantastic. And then what happens? It goes in different directions, that fighting Tom Short.
Well,
that's a downer.
I've been saying it for years. Tyson Fury is a walking contradiction. I said it. People laugh at me. I say, it's a walking contradiction. You can't trust anything Tyson Fury says. So he'll say one thing one day.
He's a master salesman and manipulator of situations to his own benefit. He says what he needs to say at the time he needs to say it, and he knows people have a short memory, and they forget the things that he maybe had said 2 years ago. Some people that he called bums who he may now be fighting or considering fighting, and certain things that he said he would do that maybe he hasn't done. Certain charities that he said he was going to donate to that he may or may not have donated to. We don't know.
Here is the perfect example of Tyson Fury. He calls Deontay Wilder a bum. He calls him a basketballer. He calls him a basketball player. Calls him skinny legs. He calls him, he could beat him with one hand behind the back. What happens? He gets dropped twice by a bum and a basketball player. That, for me, is Tyson Fury. He got knocked down by a bum and a basketball player. I didn't say it. He said it. And he got knocked down twice. He almost got knocked out by a basketball player with skinny legs. So that's how I perceive Tyson Fury now. Out of his mouth. So I said, all right, Tyson, this is what you say. He's a bum. He's this, that. So you degrade a man, and then after the fight, he drops you. Oh, he's a good man. He's a good fighter. Blah 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 blah. Listen, no, you got dropped by a bum twice. A bum with skinny legs. 215. Remember, 215 pounds. Remember all that crap he was talking. So I've done. When it comes to Tyson Fury, I don't take the guy seriously at all. I just don't. I don't take him seriously. I think more guest appearances, more seeing him singing at the pub. I don't take him seriously. And you know, good luck to him. He's milking them and making as much money as he can in the sport. So I think he's looking to make an exit out of boxing sooner rather than later. That's what it seems like to me. So he's making as much money as he can while he's undefeated, because it could have came to an end real quickly when he was on that canvas against Wilder. He knows it deep down. So, you know, when you've been hurt like that, you think to yourself, well, if I got knocked out that night against Wilder, what would have happened to me? Let me try and make as much money as I can. Guest appearances here, talks all around the country, make as much money as I can, as quick as I can, for as long as this gig lasts. You know, loyalty. He talked to me. I remember me interviewing him. He said he was really upset about all these guys that left Mick Hennessy, and talked about loyalty. What did he end up doing? Sorry, I can't take him seriously at all. He's not a man of his word. So he isn't a man of his word.
I concur with what you say, but I want to put something to you. Let's flip it round. Let's look at guys who have been loyal, and let's look at where they are in their careers. Let's look at a guy like Hughie Fury.
Kell Brook.
Kell Brook. Kell Brook's another example. I mean,
he was with the most powerful promoter in the country. Look what happened to his career. He got thrown under the bus against Golovkin. So there you go, right there.
Well, I mean, the thing you can say about Hearn is that, you know, he's not afraid to match his guys tough at very early doors. I mean, the Scott Fitzgerald and Fowler fight, I thought was a bit early, to be fair, for both guys. I thought maybe you could have saved that fight for a bit later on, maybe 2-3 fights down the line. Let him fight some international opposition first and build up confidence, and then put it down the line. But you know, matching prospects tough early doors, and I guess fair play to him. I mean, again, even throwing in Cheeseman with Sergio there.
Do you know what?
I mean,
they've got contracts to honor, and they've got so many people in their books It's not about them matching them tough. It's just the fact of the matter of their demands from Sky Sports, and the quality of opposition and the fights on that you're going to put as pay-per-view. That's the first pressure there. The second thing, they've got so many fighters in their box, so they need to find out quickly who's going to be a pay-per-view star, who isn't going to be a pay-per-view star, who's going to be recycled. That's it, really.
Yeah, and they're looking for that next big star now that you've had a lot of the big guys like Groves and De Gea and Hay retire over these last 18 months.
You're talking about Froch and Groves 3.
Oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. Froch just had his nose done. Why does he want to get it broken again? His nose done recently.
I think there'll be a lot of people who won't mind seeing him getting punched up. Trust me.
No, look, I think they should both just stay retired. I mean, that ship sailed. I think, you know, Froch proved quite emphatically that on his day, you know, Groves can't beat him. So let's just leave it there and leave them positive memories of the 80,000. There's no need to see a rematch again. What are they going to fight for? He can't have blown all that money already. I know Froch does a lot of house renovations and he owns property. He doesn't need the money. It's ridiculous.
But, you know, he said he would come back and have a third fight of Kessler and he'd have a third fight of Groves at 175.
Froch is a master troll too. You know, maybe he's talking. Maybe he's just talking for the sake of talking. Maybe he doesn't actually mean it. I know Froch loves getting the fans all riled up. I hope that's the case in this situation. I hate seeing guys out of their prime come back for money. Never ends well.
Yeah, but what a beautiful fight it would be is if Groves were able to do it and stop Froch in a third fight.
So they'd have a fourth one, yeah? Fuck it.
Hey, wasn't there like rivalries? Eric Morales and Pacquiao, Eric Morales and Moreira and Pacquiao versus Marquez.
When was the last time Froch fought? 4 years ago? Was it 4 years?
Yeah.
I mean, Groves just retired, so he's obviously still.
I'd pay pay-per-view to watch it. I would pay pay-per-view to watch it just to see Froch back in the ring again. I'd pay to watch it. See if Groves can do it.
I reckon if they fought now, I think Groves would beat him just based on age and ring rust. If it's a straight fight and there's no in between warm-up fights for Froch to come back against some patsy and build up his confidence and butt a ring rust off, then yeah, I pick Groves in that fight.
I think it'd be a great fight.
It would be. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be easy at all. I think the fans will come in their droves to see it. It would fill out the O2 again. Maybe 81,000 this time. Who knows?
Can't believe we were talking about it. It's terrible, isn't it?
It's bad, yeah. It's bad that it's got to this point where we're talking about recycled fighters. I mean, you've even got guys like Tony Bellew who potentially could come back again. I think we may not have seen the last of Tony Bellew either. The storylines there, he can say he started his career off as a heavyweight in the amateurs. He wants to finish as a heavyweight. Cruiserweight's not his best way. He doesn't want to finish.
You heard that garbage. You know that. You know the scripts. Sky are good at them scripts. But what about this one? Dave Allen versus David Price.
God. Look, I think David Price is past it. I think the David Price, the big pricey bandwagon sold a long time ago, and it sold without Pricey. It left him on the shore. So yeah. So I reckon this version of Dave Allen actually trains and takes it seriously. I think he'll beat David Price. He's got enough to beat Price. I think he'll stop him. All he's got to do is get through 6 rounds, and he's won because Price will gas himself out.
Yeah, that's true. Dave Allen fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. Can you believe that?
You know what? Stranger things have happened. I mean, if he beats Pricey, he'll have to beat a fringe world level guy. So he'll have to fight a Povetkin, a Parker, a Hughie Fury, someone of that ilk. And if he wins that fight, he'll be one of the big dogs.
No, he doesn't. He's with Eddie Hearn. Daring to be great. Joshua versus Allen for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Ingram. Surely even Eddie Hearn can't go from the Allen Price to Allen Joshua. I mean, that's disgraceful. You can't jump that.
Hold on. Kell Brook versus Frankie Gavin. pay-per-view main event.
Yeah, but fuck. But
1999, Brock v. Gavin.
Do you know, but Frankie Gavin was a world level amateur, so there's at least that. I mean, he's got that at least. It's a bit different to Alan versus Joshua. A little bit different.
Hold on. They sparred together as pros. Dave Allen's never been knocked out. The immovable object versus the irresistible force. What will give for 80,000 people? Can the man from Doncaster do it? The Doncaster de la Hoya versus Britain's Anthony Joshua. It's a mouth-watering, spine-tingling fight. One that the British fans have always wanted. Can Alan do it? And that being said, welcome to the Park Plaza Hotel today as we announce Dave Allen against Anthony Joshua. Well, we never thought we would get this far. We never thought that Dave Allen getting beat by Luis Ortiz. We never thought we'd be sitting here today, him fighting the unified heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua. And then Dave will say, I'm just glad to be here. It's got a great opportunity for me to be here, and, Joshua knows what I'm about. Me and him have sparred before. And then Big Josh will say, I'm very focused. I'm staying hungry. I'm focused, and I'm training. I'm hungry, and I'm focused, and I'm looking to do a number, and looking for Deontay Wilder in 2023. So you can see it happening. You
can. Do you know what? If that happens,
you're listening to that, and you're not laughing. So that tells you the level of pay-per-view garbage we've got now. That's what we're at now.
The matchroom scripts writing machine is there. It's tried and tested. It works. So I could see him saying something like that. That might actually be, from recent history, the first time. So a guy that's gone from not even winning the area level title, never won a belt in his life, going straight from not winning the title, not being any level of champion, straight into a world title fight. I can't remember the last time that happened. Never won any belt, no belt at all. Not in English, not an area, nothing.
Don't say it, because that's the script. What a fight this is. Dave Allen has won no belts coming into this big fight against Anthony Joshua, but can he win the big one? Well, Johnny Nelson, what do you think? It's a 50-50 fight. Allen's got a good chin. Yeah, he's not bigger, but he's got a good chin, and he's never been knocked out. Luis Ortiz tried his chin. Dillian White, murderous left hooker, one of the best left hookers in heavyweight history. He couldn't take him out. So Allen's got a cast iron chin. And what happens if he lands in Joshua? He's shown to be a bit vulnerable in the past. I see it as a 50-50 fight. That's what you'll get on Sky. And those who don't know will say, yeah, Allen might be able to do it, He might be able to do it. He's had his first pay-per-view. He knocks out Pricey as well. Big puncher, tall, rangy. Former amateur fighter, Olympic fighter. Hey.
Well, look, Dave Allen, from what I gather, is a lovely guy, and he deserves everything that he's got from his talent that he's got. He's a definition of making the most out of what you're given in terms of the talent that you got, and then using your mouthpiece and your bit of intelligence to milk your own benefit. So from a business perspective, Dave Allen's done really, really well managing his social media and how he interacts with the fans, and he's got a persona that resonates with the everyday man on the street.
I told him that when he used to be on BWTM, when he used to be on BWTM, we used to do chats, hours-long chats, and he would say when he'd give up his spot, said, stick in there. Eventually your time will come, and it's come.
He hasn't been back on your channel since he's in the last couple of years, since he's been sort of doing well on Matchroom shows. And that is any reason why?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's that old chestnut.
Yeah, he's not the only one. Like, there's quite a few of them. The Thurmans, the Crawfords. Yeah, he's not the only one.
You've had them all on this channel over the years, Ingram. When that kind of before the general public get to know about a lot of these fighters. Another one, you've had Vlad Serenko on just now. His name's Usyk. These names will start ringing heavily in about 18 months, 2 years. You've already had them on. You've already had them on the channel.
So I know a good fighter when I see one, son. I know a good fighter when I see one.
That you do.
Undisputed. How many undisputed champs have we had on the channel now? Usyk, Crawford. Yeah.
Have you had you had Usyk and Crawford. They're the only ones that are undisputed, aren't they? Undisputed. Have you had them on the channel?
No, Evander Holyfield. Evander, real deal. Holyfield. Yeah, he was on the channel.
Nice.
So that's the third undisputed champion. Well, technically 4, Buster Douglas, because he's on the channel now. Undisputed.
Nice. Go and play fast.
So to have those guys, Henry Armstrong's grandson may not have been Henry Armstrong, but his grandson's been on the channel. That's legacy right there. He'll be back on the channel soon as well. So I think that we've gone through and had a lot of great fighters on the channel. A lot of great fighters.
And yeah, you've had big promoters. You've had Dennis Hobson on your channel as well, speaking, and yeah,
Eddie Hearn's been on the channel.
Well, from what I remember, you asked some really tough questions and he didn't come back, did he?
I cracked him about the Al Heyman thing and he joked about it. He's not joking about it anymore.
Yeah.
That was when Golovkin was fighting Brook and I could see Al Heyman coming. I could see him coming. I could feel him coming. And Eddie's like, oh, how is he going to get a TV deal? How is he going to work the UK market? He's not saying that now, is he?
Kell Brook versus Amir Khan coming to a boxing arena near you, 2019.
You can see it happening, can't you? I can see Kell Brook actually fought in Terence Crawford as well.
I think he should take the Khan fight. It's more winnable for him. Yeah,
I think so. Well, if he can see it with both eyes, yeah.
Yeah, this version of Khan, there's not much left, unfortunately, and I don't say that to put Khan down, because I actually think it's been a really good servant for British boxing over the last. You don't say that to put Khan down. You're a funny man. The guy's been down enough. Pick your words carefully, son. No pun intended. But nah, I think like for me, I've never missed an Amir Khan fight because I know either he's getting knocked out or he's knocking somebody else out. And that for me is pay-per-view. That's entertainment. If you want to see knockouts, you want to put Amir Khan on. If you want to teach someone how to box from a ring craft perspective, you don't tell them to watch Amir Khan.
Sorry, end of, retire, done, finished, retire.
But that whole scenario around the quitting thing, for me, that brought up another topic. Actually, I want to talk to you about. It's, essentially, you can be a warrior in the sport of boxing. Yeah, you can put on big fights. You can fight the Madanas, and you can go to the well and get dropped and get back up and not quit, and all been over having balls.
Yeah,
but you quit once, or you show a little bit of fragility in that ring one time, and everything else, all the past history is forgotten. Yeah. Boxing fans are very fickle, and now you're a quitter for life, and nothing you've ever done means anything, and you're disgraced. And it's actually quite sad that we treat some of the warriors who do this.
This is the new school generation of boxing fans, to be quite honest with you. They have no respect for boxers in general. They don't have respect for boxing. They don't have any respect for boxing legacy. Most of them are boozers up the pub, ain't got much of a life. I'm sorry, that is the sort of guy that's telling you they couldn't tell a left jab from a left hook. Like they're casuals, and there's a reason why they're called casuals. They don't have a mind of their own, and they often follow what a promoter says, and they think what the promoter says is the gospel. If I'm telling you, if some of these casuals are so gullible that they would look at the Bible and look for the book according to Eddie Hearn, and they would actually look for that book. They're that gullible. No, I'm serious. They're that gullible. Everything Hearn says, or everything a promoter says, not just Hearn, anything a promoter says is the gospel, particularly Eddie Hearn, because he talks a lot. Anything Eddie Hearn says is the gospel. And so a lot of these people are fickle. They believe what Hearn says, everything Hearn says. I mean, if Hearn told you people flying tomorrow, they believe that. And that's the sort of mentality you've got a lot of these people. They can't think for themselves. They think that Sky Sports and the commentary team are telling them things for their benefit. No, they're telling them things for their benefit. They're telling it for the broadcasters' benefit to ensure that they can keep on raking in money. They tell you that's a 50-50 fight when really it's there's no chance the guy's going to win. Daring to be great means you're going to get he's going to get his ass whooped tonight. Bigger and stronger means the other guy's better. One last hurrah means payday. They're just different. World title eliminator means this trying to make this fight mean important, but really it isn't that important because I'm actually going to get the world title fight, or they are going to fight for a belt. They've got no chance of winning most times. And the thing I can't stand the most is that when you're going to fight for a world title, guy fights 10, 15 fights. When you're going to fight for a world title, but he hasn't even fought anyone in the top 10 or the top 20, and you're talking about world title fights. I decided to turn the volume down. Most of the time I'm commentating anyway, but I just turn the volume down. Hell with it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shambles in that regard. Another fight I wanted to touch on quickly is he's been mismanaged. I think is Callum Smith. I mean, since you've got a fighter there who's just won the world boxing series. He's just won that, and he's got the ring belt and is unified champion. And you've got Matchroom, who obviously needs new stars to push on an international level to drum up interest and to get behind. And you've got a fighter there in Callum Smith, and you're not using him, you're not promoting him. You're saying you're going to pick him on the Joshua card on June the 1st, and we're less than a month away from that now, and you still not announced the opponent and all that. I don't understand why he's being sort of put on the fringes. I mean, I know he's not the most exciting fighter from a media perspective, even how he talks in the media, but he's a good fighter, a great fighter.
Remember, who's his manager? Who's his manager?
He's managed by Joe Gallagher, isn't he?
Who's his trainer?
Joe Gallagher.
Okay, why did the Jurgen Bremer fight not happen?
Wasn't it that Jurgen Bremer pulled out?
He got flu, but they didn't want to fight in the beginning. Remember, they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to fight Jurgen Bremer. I think they were making something up. They didn't want to fight Jurgen Bremer in Germany or something, and somehow Jurgen Bremer got sick. Remember, and then they yeah. I think personally he's managed by Joe Gallagher. So Joe Gallagher is looking for his how much ever percentage, and so it might not be match for maybe offering fights and saying no, I want to make the most money we can with Callum Smith. So it might be, look, he's unified champion, and we're not prepared to make, we're not prepared to. We want our worth, we want our value, so therefore we're not taking any fight because he's managed by Joe Gallagher. That might be what it is.
He should be in top level fights, paying him a lot of money anyway. Ingram, that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. If you remember Callum Smith, he rejected the fight against Durrell. He rejected the Ramirez fight. He got offered the WBO title. He rejected that fight. He rejected the Durrell fight. Those two fights he rejected. So it's not like Callum Smith has been eager to fight the world's best. He's not been eager to fight the world's best.
He said earlier on in this year, just after he obviously won the tournament, that now he said he's ready for anyone because why? Because he's won the belts, and he got a massive payout for that tournament. So money is the motivator now, and he's got his belt, so he's achieved that ambition. He said he'd fight Ramirez. So yeah, let's see it. Let's see it.
He was meant to. Well, I don't believe any of that personally. He's got a lot of money, yeah. So what's the ambition to go and fight? You get money. You're fighting to make money, right? So you make a lot of money.
Well, there's three things, isn't there? You've got money, you've got belts, and it become world champion. Then you've got legacy. So he's done the first two. Now it's like legacy fights, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll see how he does. I think Callum Smith's a good fighter, but I don't think he's a great fighter, and I think he's ineffective off the back foot. And you push him against the ropes and back him up. he doesn't move his head, right? And if you push him back, he's not a very good fighter. Callum Smith is great moving forward, left hook to the body. He's a good front foot fighter. Off the back foot, he's not very good.
Well, luckily for him, a man of 6'3.5", and the weight he is when he gets into the ring, and that reach, it takes a very good fighter to back him up in the first place with that size. So
Canelo beats him. Canelo beats him. Canelo beats him.
Do you reckon Canelo beat him easily, or do you think he'd give him a good fight?
Give him a good fight. Get inside. Work the body. Canelo beat him.
I don't think Canelo will take the fight.
Canelo's talking about the fight.
I would love to see it. I think that style, because it's a big man who knows how to use his size. Callum Smith, he knows how to use his jab and use his size. He's not a Rocky Fielding.
Yeah, he's not a Rocky Fielding, but he's not a Rocky Fielding. Agreed, but I don't know how much better he is than Rocky Fielding.
Oh, come on, England. You don't know how much better Smith is than Rocky Fielding, surely.
Hold on. It's not. It's when you're in against that elite level. When you're against that elite level, George Groves, to be honest, was injured going into that fight. He was rushed back. So we don't know how the best George Groves would have done against Callum Smith.
Yeah.
Now, when we talked about the tournament, it started and George Groves was doing, I said Groves would have knocked Smith out. But Groves was injured going into that fight. You know that. I know that. He was injured.
Yeah.
He rushed back too quickly for that fight.
Well, they say it takes about 18 months to come back from that injury that he had, and he was rushed back in less than a year, wasn't he? So,
so I think, I'd like to see how a two-fisted attack against a guy who's not just, who's not just going in there trying to give it his best shot with an injury. A fully fit guy like Canelo, who's really coming to do damage, is going to do it against. I'm just not a big fan of Callum Smith. I think he's a good fighter, but he hasn't met a guy who's going to expose him for not being able to fight off the back foot. Can't fight off the back foot.
If I was breaking down Callum Smith, I would say one of the things that I would look at if I was
straight lines.
Scouting report is he's got a very British style of boxing, and what I mean by that is he fights very rigid, not much upper body movement.
Yeah.
Grabs 1-2's body shots, very textbook. Everything's textbook, but textbook means that you've seen it before and you can prepare for it. You've really boxed that style before.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit of movement, a few angles, few pivots in here and there, and kidding and feinting and giving him some feints and awkward angles and making him overreach, maybe then coming in afterwards when he's putting his hand back. You might be able to do something with him and catch in there. One fight that would interest me would be Billy Joe Saunders versus Callum Smith. I like to see how them two styles sort of gel together. It's like you've got a slick fighter versus a very orthodox textbook.
I think Smith does better against Saunders.
I reckon Saunders would beat Callum Smith.
Do you?
On points. I reckon he could do it on points, yeah. I do. I think he's got enough movement, upper body movement and movement of feet to negate Smith. I think Smith has really struggled to land on Billy Joe Saunders. Struggled to track him down because he hasn't got the fastest feet. He's got a long reach, but your reach is only as good as far as you can actually land that jab and find your distance.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Billy Joe Saunders might be able to sort of feint and kid him and feint him and make him miss and be awkward and just nick rounds. I think you nick enough rounds to win it.
Yeah, maybe so. Going back to that thing I said about Rocky Fielding, people might think I'm a bit crazy. Rocky Fielding has fought Canelo. When I say he's not that much better than Rocky Fielding, okay, he may throw the jab a bit better. He may put his punch together and he's unbeaten. I agree. I appreciate that. But what more does he offer to Canelo that Canelo's not seen before? He moves back in straight lines.
He's never fought someone who has a jab as long and as effective as Smith's.
Rocky Fielding's got a jab.
Rocky Fielding's jab, he didn't even throw the jab really against Canelo. He stood there and fought like a man 5'9". Rocky Fielding. He
Why?
stood there right in front of Canelo with his hands up. Why? Because I think that he had no confidence in his skill set going into the fight. I think he came there and he came to lay down. I think he did. I don't like saying it about fighters, but I don't think he came there to win. If he came to win, his game plan would have been to establish a jab and use his reach. He didn't do that.
I didn't think Callum Smith looked confident when he fought Groves at all. When he came into the fight, I don't think he was a confidence guy either.
I thought he did. He was really patient against Groves, and he took his time, and he didn't panic, and he saw everything coming, and he watched, and he looked, and he threw great counters. I thought he was really patient in the fight. He made the shorter man in Groves overreach and come forward and counter over the top. He did really well.
Remember, Groves was injured. Now, remember the kickboxer that Callum Smith fought? Remember him?
I do, yeah, I do. Nicky Holtzkin. I know Nicky Holtzkin because as a kickboxing man myself, I've seen a lot of his fights. He's a good kickboxer.
So, all right. Should he have any business giving Callum Smith the problems he gave Callum Smith that night?
No, he shouldn't. I don't think Callum Smith might have made a talk for the fight, but he should still beat that caliber of opponent with a lack of.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, Rocky. What's the guy you got? Rocky something. He fought 12. We went 10 rounds with him.
Oh, what the Skoglund, the Swedish boxer?
He went for the British title. He made the defense against him. Cut my name again. Rocky. I mean, it was he went 10 rounds with him. Struggled with him as well. I mean, I'm looking at Callum Smith's work and the guys he struggled against and not look great against. And his best win against is Groves, who was injured. I just don't see a two-fisted attack from Canelo with the upper body movement, head work movement, the footwork, the experience now, plus punching power. I just don't see what Callum Smith offers. Yeah, he's tall and he's big and he's long, again, but he's not better.
I do think that he would definitely on the night put a better performance than Rocky Ford. Whether he win or not, I don't think he would.
He may put in a little bit better than Rocky Fielding, but I can't. It's that he doesn't have gears. Callum Smith, he fights more or less the same way and throws the same punches all the time. Look at Callum Smith fights. He moves the same way, throws the same punches all the time. Very, very predictable. You can't go 12 rounds of fighting Canelo like that.
You could say Joshua does the same thing. He's very predictable, but it's worked well for him.
I think Joshua's improved. From fight one to fight now, I think he's improved.
He definitely has improved. He's definitely become more...
I mean, the fight he had against Povetkin showed me that.
He's more adaptable, yeah. He's more adaptable.
Yeah, he used the jab and he was waiting to land that right hand against Povetkin. He didn't throw it straight away. And then when he threw it, it was beautiful. Picked it beautifully. Against Parker, he didn't change as much.
That consistency has helped him. He's been out regular, Joshua. He's been consistent. He's had regular dates where he's been out and he's got his ring craft. Whereas Callum Smith is a lot more sort of stunted and stop-starting his sort of development.
That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying. I could be wrong here, but I can see Callum Smith being thrown under the bus. That's what I think. I can see getting thrown under the bus. Similar to how Kell Brook got thrown under the bus. I can see it happen.
Like stick him in with like a Ramirez or whatever straight away, or stick him in with someone like that.
Garbage like happening. So I can see that happening. I can see him being mishandled. I can see it.
Well, he's always going to be in a way fighter because he can't sell a ticket, Callum Smith. So he's going to have to go on the road, isn't he, and do it the hard way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you.
Or because he's not going to be comfortable fighting on other people's undercards and taking less money. So he's going to have to do it the hard way, fight on the road and see what happens, isn't he?
That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying. So guys like that who can't sell a ticket usually get thrown under the bus. He's fortunate because he's a world champion now, but on the road, and he's fortunate because of the World Boxing Super Series. Had that World Boxing Super Series not been around, imagine now, Callum Smith.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, he would be out. He would literally be out in the wilderness. He'd be begging for scraps, trying to fight all these guys with belts and not being able to get a fight. But luckily for him, it came at the right time, didn't it? So he's done well.
Exactly. So, I think Callum Smith's a good fighter, but I don't. At the elite level, you need to have something more. You need to be able to be more, have different gears. And I don't see that with Callum Smith. And, he's too, for me, one-dimensional. And that, you can't do it against Canelo. You can be big, strong, and long, but Canelo's going to time that jab. He's going to time that jab. Jacobs was tall and long. Canelo was out jabbing Jacobs. So those are just some thoughts. But we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I saw Eddie Hearn said that they've agreed terms provisionally with Hassan and Dam and Jickham for Callum Smith to box on the undercard of Joshua. Hassan and Dam, I didn't realise he's had over 40 fights. I think Hassan and Dam, he's had a lot of fights. He's getting on. He's getting on. So I mean, that's just a tick over fight for Callum Smith. Really, he should beat that caliber opponent. It's not really exciting for me.
One more guy I want to talk about before we finish is John Ryder. Shout out to John Ryder. I'm a massive fan of John Ryder. He's been so improved as a fighter, moving up at super middleweight. Definitely would love to see John Ryder against Callum Smith.
Yeah, John Ryder's done really well. I mean, remember when he fought Cox, and I was really impressed at how he beat Cox to that.
I said he'd knock Cox out. Nobody believed me.
Cox hasn't fought since as well, has he? So that was I think that was nearly bang on a year ago. Cox hasn't fought since. So yeah, no, that was a really good knockout. That was really, really good. John Ryder, it'd be interesting to see where he kicks on for now, because I think he's the mandatory for Callum Smith's belt. So yeah, we shall see. Maybe that fight will come early next year or something like that. It'd be good to see.
I rate John Ryder highly, but we'll wait and see. All right, we're going to bring this to an end. Cool. Daryl, is there anything else you want to say before we go, though?
No, it's been good chatting to you. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully we can do this again soon.
Sounds fantastic. It'd be really great. Daryl, how do people follow you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at DapoWill, DapoWill. You can follow me on there. I've got a few of my kickboxing, my coaching, my boxing videos on there. Check me out. And yeah, hopefully I can chat to all the subscribers on BWTM online. And yeah, let's do it.
Daryl, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed having you on the show. We could talk for ages.
All right. Well, I'll see you soon, England. You take care, yeah?
You take care. Once again, thank you, Daryl. And yeah, we're talking a whole lot of boxing today. It's been fun. Really enjoyed it. Let's see if we can bring the old BWTM up. Where are you? As always, don't forget to rate, subscribe, and leave comments. As always, we do appreciate it. This is us, the end of BWTM for today, with Daryl here, and we'll see you soon. Take care.